Peace, I'm Zaire, and I'm gonna share a few thoughts and words about my project for Power Beyond the Patriarchy. So, for starters, the specific community that I would be engaging with this project would be the students that live on my hall here at the North Carolina School of Science and Math, where I work as a community coordinator. I live on residence, or in residence rather, as a community coordinator on hall with 37 other people. They're young people, students that are both juniors and seniors, split almost down the middle, half and half juniors, half seniors. So the age range is like 14 to about 19, just because some folks are young, some folks are a little bit older than what we expect. So that would be the specific community. And the central goal essentially would be to create a dynamic of self and mutual respect on hall. And doing that by cultivating the young masculine folk who are living on hall in ways that honor vulnerability and connection beyond the guise of masculinity that is steeped in our media and in our mainstream depictions of what masculinity is supposed to be, how it's supposed to move. I think a lot of the messages that we get about masculinity are being solidified at the time of the particular age group that I'm in connection with. Although, we know that this is a moving target, moving practice, always evolving. But I think on the ways often that our young people are actively being indoctrinated in ways that I believe that we have the power to interrupt. And speaking of power, that would be a main focus of the project. Is like we would start the year talking about power. We would ask really intentional questions about like, what is power? Who holds the power in our world? Who deserves power in our world? And in that moment, I would do an intentional posturing of, grounding folks in the understanding of like all power to the people, not only power to people as individuals, but power to people groups who have been historically oppressed in our society, and understanding a bit of what that means both historically but also like present tense contextually, helping the young folks to understand some of the current events that are shaping our world right now that will have deep impacts on the world that they are basically coming up into as young adolescents that will then go on to become young adults pretty soon. And the final two questions would be, how do we yield our own power? Really having to root down into an understanding that masculinity is not bad, being a man is not bad. It is a matter of how we are yielding that shape, that posture, that energy, if you will, into the world. And finally, we would ask what we will use this power to do in our lives. Like how as we cultivate this power and cultivate it in a way that is beneficial and nurturing and positive for our communities, what do we then do with that power? Because there are so many different ways I think you could go. And yeah, I would be actively getting young folks who are being right now socialized into the world as young men to basically use their power for good. And for me, that means that we use our power to help build our community, to manifest innovative dreams for ourselves and with our community, to support those in community who don't hold as much privilege as we do, and to be a fully feeling being with the capacity to care deeply for yourself and for others. I feel like all of those things are really crucial to accessing masculinity that has more depth for care and safety. And then the political values, I'll just name some alignments that this project would have. The mainstream depiction and scripts for masculinity are limited and harmful. The understanding that communalism is a way that we can begin to combat this overarching narrative about what masculinity is and how it's supposed to move, because we know that once we get talking about these things, we start to really realize like, oh, this doesn't serve any of us and it hurts all of us. And then finally, the recognition of the ways that the uses of patriarchal violence over time has cultivated an image and caricature of masculinity that continues to perpetuate the harms of a world that deems men to be dominant. So that's the project in a nutshell. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace.